Growing up, I didn't talk to any girls, or maybe they just didn't talk to me. And I don't think it helped that I played the flute. Yeah, kids would make fun of me about that, and I'd be like, laugh now, you won't be laughing once I get good enough to control snakes. That's what I do to them, they just laugh at me. The first girl I ended up talking to, I was 16 years old, and the only reason I talked to her is because she moved next door to me, and I saw her walking with a violin case, and her name was Julia, and I went up to her, and I was like, hey, we should totally play music together sometime. And she goes, follow me. So I follow her into the woods, and she stops, and she opens up the violin case, and she reaches in, and she pulls out a bong. And she's like, so, Steven, do you like marijuana? I was like, I like marijuana. I like whatever you like. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, please just French kiss me. Ah. And she's like, cool. Why don't you roll us some joints? And I literally looked at her and started going, oh. All right. Is that enough joint rolling for you, girl? Like, I don't know why she still smoked with me after that, but she did. And we started to hang out, and this became my girlfriend. Is the first girl I started talking to that I really had a relationship with, and she was teaching me so many things, and I just really felt like attached to Julia. I never felt attachment to anybody like that before. And one day I was at her house and she goes, listen, my parents are going to be gone for 3 hours. Why don't you go down the street and get some condoms? And I was like, holy shit, it's going down. So I ran down the street and I get to the store, but I'm still too nervous and too embarrassed to go buy condoms myself. So I went to the homeless man on the corner. And I was like, hey, could you buy me? And he's like, beer, you want beer? And I go, no, condoms. And he goes, what you gonna do with them little hips, huh? Show me what you can do with them little hips, huh? Show me what them little hips can do. And I didn't know what to do with these little hips. So I just looked at him and started just going, And he's like, okay, I'll be right back. He goes inside the store, comes back out with a box of condoms. He rips it open, gives me one, and walks away. And I yelled at him. I was like, hey, where are you going? My other 2 condoms. And he looks at me and goes, these will expire before you get another chance. I was like, oh, damn. But I still had one. I had that golden ticket. I was excited, so I ran up the street. And right as I get to the front yard of where her house is, my little brother, who's 15 at the time, sees me. And he goes, hey, man, you want to go play video games? I'm like, no, dude, I'm busy right now. And he goes, what are you doing? And I didn't know how to tell him I was going to lose my virginity. So I just took him with me over to her house. And I know, right? I know now. I'm like, we get to her house, and it was just so awkward because I could tell she's ready to go, and I'm just totally deflating that. And we're there hanging out for like 15 minutes, and then she goes, hey, do you guys want to go skinny dipping? And we're like, sure. So we go in the backyard. She rips off her clothes first, and she jumps in the water. And she looks at it, she's like, come on, guys, jump in. So me and my little brother, we take our shirts off, and then we take our pants off. And my little brother, he takes his underwears off first, and he went from the little brother to the big brother. No, he jumped, and his dick eclipsed the moon. It was like, and then he floated on it like a pool noodle. He's just, oh. And I'm just standing there, and she goes, Steven, come on, jump in. And I was like, I'm sick. And she's like, what? She's like, come on, it's not a big issue. And I'm thinking in my head, I know it's a standard issue. So I just go, I'm sick. And I turned around and ran home, embarrassed. Yeah, I was so embarrassed. And then an hour and a half later, my younger brother comes home, and he's like, dude, I just lost my virginity. And I was so mad at him that I went and told my dad on him. And I see my dad walking. He goes, hey, did you just lose your virginity? My brother's like, yeah. And my dad's like, all right, and just high fives him in my face. I was so crushed. I was like, my dad thinks my younger brother is cooler than me. So I just completely stopped talking to Julia. I was like, I am in love with this girl, but I'm not going to talk to her anymore. I can't. I was just too hurt. And I didn't talk to her. And then I just crawled back in my shell. And then eventually I turned 18. And one of my only friends, that was a guy, he ended up moving to LA. And I ended up moving with him. And he was working on sets of films and stuff like that. And I was doing nothing here. And he goes, hey, man, I know a friend that's a commercial agent. You want to meet him just so you can, like, kind of do something? And I was like, I don't know, I guess. And I went in there, and he's like, hey, I'll sign you to do some commercials if you want, da-da-da. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I went back, and I told my friend, and he goes, oh, let's celebrate. So we got drunk off the cheapest wine we could find. It was Carlo Rossi wine, and we just got tore up. And I wake up the next day with the biggest hangover ever, and I get a call from this agent. He goes, hey, I got you an audition. Can you make it in 30 minutes? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I drive down to the audition, just and I get over there, and I open the door, and all the doors look the same, just and I'm like sweating, and I don't know where to go. And I asked some guy, I go, hey, I'm here for this audition. What do I do? And he goes, oh, just sign your name right there. So I sign my name down. I sit down, and then this guy comes out, and he goes, Stephen Briggs. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And I go in there, and he goes, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to slate your name, and then you're going to say the lines. I'm like, okay. I'm like, hi, my name is... And I threw up everywhere, you know? But I grew up in a household where, you know, if you mess up, you get back on the horse, and you keep on going. So I was like, Stephen Briggs. And I just started saying the lines. And he goes, what the hell are you doing? And I just continued doing the line. I'm like, I'm doing. And he goes, stop. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm saying the lines. And he goes, no, you're not. You clean this shit up. That's what you're doing. And so I had to go out and get paper towels, and I cleaned it up. And I was like, maybe I can redeem myself. And I go, hey, could we try this again? And he goes, no, get the hell out of here. So I get out, and I walk out, and that was one of the most embarrassing times of my life. Like, I'm literally about to cry, and I'm standing there, and some guy he obviously could tell something's wrong with me. So he comes up, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, hey, man, are you okay? And I go, I just went into this commercial for ESPN, and I went in there, and I threw up, and he goes, ESPN, dude, that's 2 doors down that way. And I ended up walking in there and booking it. Yeah, and I was super excited. My family was proud of me and stuff like that. They're like, our boy's doing it. And so I'm getting all these messages from these people, and they're all telling me, oh, I saw your commercial. And one message is from Julia. And I was like, holy shit, I haven't talked to her in 2 years, and like maybe 3 years now coming up. And she's like, oh my God, I saw you in that commercial. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And she goes, we should totally hang out sometime. And I was like, totally, yeah, definitely. And she goes, when are you in San Diego next? And I'm like, I'm in San Diego right now. I lied, I was in LA, but I drove down there to see her. And I get to her house, and I knock on the door, and she opens it, and she's as beautiful as ever. And I'm super excited, and we sit down on the couch, and we're catching up. And after 15 minutes, like my love for her just took over, and I couldn't control myself, and I went in to kiss her. And she goes, no, Stephen, okay, I am not going to just kiss you the first time we hang out. But if you want, we can do drugs. And I was like, oh, okay. You want to smoke weed? And she goes, no, we're going to smoke DMT. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah. And she goes, you've done this before, right? And I was like, every weekend. And so she hands me this pipe, and I'd only smoked weed with her. That's all I'd done. That's the only drug I did. So I put the pipe into my mouth, and I try to light it like weed at the top, but with DMT, you're supposed to light the bottom. So I just burn everything inside. And she goes, what the hell are you doing? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, smoke it like you're smoking crack. Now I know this woman has smoked crack. And a part of me was like, just run for the door and leave right now. But part of me was like a female in a relationship. I was like, maybe I can change her. So she hands me again, and she goes, twist it when you're lighting it. So I'm twisting, I'm lighting, I'm twisting, I'm lighting, I'm twisting, I'm lighting, I'm twisting, I'm lighting, I'm twisting, I'm lighting. And I see the smoke start to build, and then it feels like I'm shot of this rocket, just. And this ambiance music starts playing. And as I walk, I see this creature. And it makes this noise. Yeah! And it's this mutated green creature turned to its side with a big bone in a pot it's stirring, and a heart's being held above it with chains. And it looks at me, and I look at it, and I go, whose heart is that? And it goes,
well, yours, of course.
And the heart started beating faster, so I knew the creature wasn't lying to me. And I go, whose bone is that? And it goes,
well, why don't you look down and see for yourself?
and I look down and my freaking leg is missing, and I'm like, ah! And I fall backwards, I land on my back, and this creature's going, ah, 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 ah. And I come out of the high because it only lasts for 15 minutes, and this girl's riding me going, ah, 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 ah. And after that was done, she goes, oh my God, that was so crazy. That was the most amazing thing. Holy shit, Steven, we're soulmates. And I look at this girl that I've been in love with for my whole life. I look into her amazing, beautiful eyes, and I go, from what I just saw, you have no soul. And I ran the fuck out of there. I've never seen her since. Thank you very much.
Stephen Briggs, ladies and gentlemen.